Hey, what's up guys, John here. In 12 days, side hustles will become illegal in America.
Side hustle could soon be classified as a second job,
thanks to new labor rules unveiled by the Biden administration this week.
The move has riled some companies who rely heavily on gig workers, whose costs could increase by as much as 30%.
On January 9th, the Biden administration issued a rule that could curb gig work, and this would go into effect on March 11th. Well, the very next day, January 10th, the U.S. Department of Labor published a final rule replacing the current test for determining whether a worker is an employee or an independent contractor under the Fair Labor Standards Act. So now this is law. So in 12 days, this is what's going to happen. Presently, 50% of Americans have a side hustle, even if they earn $100,000 a year. And 80 million people have a side hustle in America, 80 million. And now what companies are doing, both small and large, is they're auditing themselves to position themselves for when they get audited from the IRS. Because now what's happening is the IRS is looking for misclassification lawsuits. They're looking to audit these companies to see if they have gig workers, see if they're underpaying certain employees, seeing if they have workers that should be classified differently. And if they do, they're going to be hit with penalties, interest, fines. It's absolutely crazy. If you look at what's actually happened inside the IRS, they've hired 30,000 agents, spending $80 billion on these 30,000 agents. Where are they going to get a return on that money? Well, of course, going after businesses. And that's what we're going to be walking into on March 11th in 12 days. I'm going to break down the facts and show you exactly what's coming and why I believe this could be a really big domino to fall for the U.S. economy. When you look at where consumers really stand with household debt, auto loan debt, credit card debt, I mean, the debt is out of control. And when you take away one's ability to earn an income from a side hustle, odds are you're going to start seeing more and more defaults and delinquencies. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to give you the facts and show you exactly what's going on. Please hit the like button. Hit the like button. YouTube will share the content. Educate more people about what's really going on in America's economy. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for what I believe without doubt will be the greatest wealth transfer in American history, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item in your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video and schedule a free strategy session for tomorrow. Take a look at this. So this is unreal. January 10th, this is set. The Fair Labor Standards Act requires employers to provide minimum wage and overtime pay to qualified employees, but not to independent contractors. Many employees, especially full-time employees, are also entitled to various statutory benefits, such as state law paid sick leave, entitlements, workers' compensation benefits, unemployment benefits, and the benefits under the employee ERSA-governed benefit plans, such as health insurance policies, 401k plans. Failure to provide classified workers as employees can therefore result in substantial damages and penalties, even if the misclassification is unintentional, as described in more detail below. So when you look at how fast this train is moving, you can see without doubt we're going to start seeing the unemployment numbers skyrocket. We're going to start to see people really desperate to make side income. The U.S. Department of Labor, this is Bloomberg law. The U.S. Department of Labor released a final rule Tuesday that will make it harder for companies to classify workers as independent contractors, a policy change that's being closely followed by major gig economy players, including Uber and Lyft. But it goes a lot deeper than that. They're talking about the entire construction industry. So the rule, which could have sweeping impacts across construction, trucking, healthcare, changes about the DOL, determines whether a worker is an employee or an independent contractor under the Fair Labor Standards Act. Contractors in business for themselves don't qualify for the same minimum wage or overtime pay protections afforded to employees. So what they're saying now is they're telling businesses that they need to do internal audits themselves to make sure that if they get audited by the IRS, they're going to be able to defend themselves, because this is what's going to happen. Audits are going to skyrocket. So internal audits, they are saying you really got to look at the tenure of the relationship, the duties being performed, the contractor's skills. They have to review independent contractor agreements, determine each contractor's current compensation structure, identifying each contractor's day-to-day duties and role in the company's organizational structure, which may require interviewing responsible managers, assessing the likelihood of misclassification, and the company's potential exposure to taking into account applicable state law and legal protections in place, such as arbitration agreements. And once the review is complete, the company will need to determine whether the level of risk justifies reclassifying any contractors as employees and how to mitigate risk when communicating reclassification decisions. So it's all going to come down to risk. And now some people may say, hey, this is a really good thing. These gig workers, they need to be classified as employees. Great. Well, how many employers can afford to bring on these gig workers as full-time employees? Probably not as many as we would all hope. And so what's going to happen? We're going to start seeing more and more talent being outsourced overseas. We're going to see more of an integration and a reliance on technology, a lot of more automation. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to be negatively impacted by this. It's absolutely crazy. Millions of gig workers could now qualify as an employee under the new rule. And so look at all of these companies that are all gig work. This is just some of them. These are just the top 100, right? This is just top 100. But when you look at all the plumbers, you look at all these independent companies, these small companies that offer commission only, this is going to be a major blow to these industries. And the big question just becomes this. When you have 29.6% of Americans, the top 100 largest metros, behind on at least one debt payment, how is this number not going to skyrocket when these layoffs start to pick up? Millennials are losing their cars. Millennials are increasingly seeing their cars face repossession, with calls to attorneys regarding the topic reaching levels not seen since the pandemic. This is absolutely crazy that 1 out of 5 cars in America right now are $1,000 a month. Just the car payment, plus the insurance, plus gas, plus repairs. 1 out of 5, you're probably looking at $1,400, $1,500 a month in just payments. How many people can actually comfortably afford this? Then you have where the average car payment is right now. This is the average, national average on a new car, $726. On a used car, $575. And $430, this is in 2021, right? So the numbers have only picked up since then. And so you have 100 million Americans that have an auto loan, 80 million people in the gig economy. How do we not see an auto loan crisis incoming? I don't see how we don't. And it goes a lot bigger than auto loans. You have the auto insurance skyrocketing as well. You've seen all the situations unfold in Maine and San Diego and LA and San Francisco and Florida. All of these disasters going to increase insurance rates. And credit card debt continues to skyrocket. So everything is coming to a head, but the final nail in the coffin is that on the same exact day, March 11th, that the gig economy dies, the BTFP program dies as well, which is going to cut funding for small businesses. And so all of this is happening on March 11th. So average credit card balances jumped 10% to a record $6,360, and as more consumers fall behind on payments. And so right now they're saying serious delinquencies or those 90 days or more past due has just hit the highest since the great financial crisis. So you can see that this economy is not booming like many people like us to believe. It's doing quite the opposite, right? When foreclosures on FHA loans start to get banned and VA home loans, they start to pause these foreclosures, and they're doing all these things all at the same time. There's only one net outcome. A really, really struggling consumer where the middle class essentially gets eroded to nothing and the 1% gets richer and richer and richer. And so this BTFP program, which is finished on the 11th, says our assumption is that new borrowing will essentially fall to zero. It's going to fall to zero, and they say that this BTFP program was created to support American businesses and households by making additional funding available to eligible depository institutions to help assure banks have the ability to meet the needs of their depositors. So you tell me, what do you think is going to happen when this BTFP program ends on the 11th, the gig economy ends on the 11th, and all of this happens at the same exact time? How do 80 million people hold on? Maybe not all 80 million will lose their job, but let's be low end. Maybe 10 million, maybe 15 million, maybe 20 million start to get cut. What does that look like for auto? What does that look like for credit cards? Buy now, pay later, for example. This situation's gotten so out of control that, you have, look at this. This is absolutely crazy. So the buy now, pay later situation, you have, a large chunk of people literally financing groceries right now. Almost half of Americans have used buy now, pay later apps, and of those, about 1 in 5 rely on them to buy groceries. This is the healthy economy we're told we're in? You tell me. What's going to happen next? I believe what we're going to start to see here is a wave of defaults and delinquencies. We're going to start to see a lot more demand for government assistance. We're going to start to see a lot more of a push for dependence. I mean, it's going to be a completely different America. That's what we're walking into. Many people like to think we're going back to 2018, 2019. We're not. 2024, 2025, it's going to reshape everything that we know about America. And my advice is to position yourself for it. Get out of high interest rate credit card debt as soon as possible. Put yourself in a position to invest. Because when you look at the facts, people are going to be letting go of assets. They're going to be letting go of cars. They're going to be letting go of houses, Airbnbs. That's when you want to run out there with cash, credit, and a game plan. The next couple of years, we're going to see a lot of people make a lot of money. You've got to position yourself to be one of those people. Drop below. Let's have a conversation about this. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself for what I believe without doubt will be the greatest wealth transfer in American history. Because over the last several years, it's been set up, this great rug pull, where they put all this money in the economy. They put 40% of all USD since 1776 in circulation over the course of 36 months. Now they're pulling the money out, they're keeping interest rates sky high, and they're completely rug pulling the entire labor market. So put yourself in the best position possible to capitalize on this massive wealth transfer. If you have any credit issues, we'd love to help you, give you a free strategy session at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any issue at all on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video and schedule a free strategy session. Catch you next video.